talking a little bit about the Hajj, and then we're going to actually do a simulation of the Hajj, and then inshallah we'll play a little game. Inshallah, and then we'll have a chance to break into small groups again and work with our own individual groups. So first of all, how many of you know the 5 pillars of Islam? How many? And I'm talking to the Girl Scouts. If you can raise your hand, that will be great. Who knows the very first pillar of Islam? Sumaya. Shahada. Very good. What's the second pillar? Yes. What's her name? Amira. Amira, what's the second pillar of Islam? Salah. Very good. What's the third pillar? Does a Daisy know the third pillar of Islam? Are there any Daisies? Yes, honey. What is it? Who knows the third pillar of Islam? Yeah, let's get another one. Yes. Hasana? Az-zakah. Az-zakah is one of the pillars of Islam. Yes. What's the fourth pillar? Yes. That's the fifth pillar. What's the fourth one? Is there someone over there that knows the fourth pillar of Islam? Yes. Is that, what's your name? Inara. Inara. What is the fourth pillar of Islam? So we mentioned shahada, prayer, zakah. Yes. Fasting. Very good. That's the fourth. And what is the fifth pillar of Islam? Everybody. Very good. MashaAllah. So in order to be a Muslim, inshallah, we are required to do a minimum of 5 things, right? So the very fifth one is the Hajj. It's the pilgrimage to Mecca. And we do this for Allah. So we just want to talk a little bit about that today, inshallah. What is the meaning of Hajj? Hajj means to actually go from one place to another. It's a pilgrimage, right? So you are journeying from one place to another. And you're journeying both in a physical way. You're going, for example, all of us live here in Houston, Texas. So we make this journey from Houston, Texas, and we go all the way to Mecca, Saudi Arabia, right? So that's a physical journey. And we also are making another kind of a journey, a spiritual or a metaphorical journey. So this spiritual journey is to reach the pleasure of Allah, right? So here in this life, we have a certain journey that we're all making, which is to live our life, but to reach the pleasure of Allah. What is the result? What is the purpose of Hajj? So we talked about the meaning of Hajj, a journey. The purpose of Hajj. The purpose of Hajj is a manifestation of Tawheed. Okay? So we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only creator, and He's also the sustainer, the maintainer. He is in charge of our life. He just makes all the decisions. Tawheed has a lot of meaning to it, right? So part of Tawheed is the purpose. Part of Hajj is the manifestation of the belief of Tawheed, which means that we are acknowledging, we are showing that we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only Lord and that we are submitting to Him. And then, inshallah, what is the result of Hajj? Does anybody know one of the main results of Hajj? Can somebody raise their hand and tell me? Is there a Daisy that knows the result of Hajj? How about a brownie? Is there any brownie that knows what happens when you go to Hajj? This side? Somebody who's never answered, Gigi?
When you finish Hajj.
So when you finish Hajj, what is the result? What does Allah give you?
Come back like what?
Who has not answered at all? Okay. Exactly. So when you go to Hajj, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts your Hajj, then it's like you're born again like a new baby. And you have no more bad deeds, right? So that is one of the greatest results of Hajj, is that freedom from the hellfire and forgiveness from Allah. So inshallah, with that, I also want to talk a little bit about the background of the story of Hajj. So everybody here knows our beloved Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? So the Kaaba was the very first house of Allah, the very first house which was established and created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Adam alayhi salam was part of it, and then later in time we have Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? And he is the father of all the prophets, and he was very dear to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, mashallah, one of the lessons we can learn from the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam is that he sacrificed those things which are very dear to him. And I want to ask you something. If everyone can imagine something which is very dear to them, something which they love so much. You know, maybe it's something that you had to wait a long time to get that thing, right? So a lot of times, you know, when something is just given to us easy, we don't really care about it. But when something is difficult for us, or we don't get it, or you know, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of savings, a lot of whatever it is, you know, a lot of hard work to get something, then we value that a lot. So imagine if you have something that you value a lot, and then you have to give it away. How does that feel? That's a sacrifice, right? And that is not an easy sacrifice. And what happened with Ibrahim alayhi salam is he really wanted to have a child. And it wasn't easy for him to get that child. He had to wait, he had to ask Allah, and it became something that was very valuable to him. It was a very valuable gift when he finally had the gift of Ismail alayhi salam. And that is because it didn't come easy to him. He wanted that thing, and finally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that thing. It was his most prized possession. But guess what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after giving him something that he waited for so long, and it was so dear to him, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him to give that very thing up only for the sake of Allah. So imagine, everybody knows in their heart what is their most valuable thing that they have. It could be different from each person. One person it's a game, one person it's a clothes, another person it's a collection that they made, another person it's their phone, another person it's their beloved relative, whatever it is. That very dear thing, can you imagine having to give that up forever, only for Allah? But guess what? Ibrahim alayhi salam, that's exactly what he was asked to do, and that's exactly what he was willing to do. And he was willing to do that for the sake of Allah. Okay, so if everyone can think of an X-ray, you know, inside of us we have a heart, right? Everyone, we have on the outside everything you can see, and there's something inside of all of us, which is our heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cares about our heart, and He wants us to be most attached to His heart. He wants our heart to be most attached to Him. And a lot of times when we love something, we're so attached to that one thing, right? We're very attached to that one thing until we don't want to give it up, and we're willing to, we're not willing to give it up for anyone or for any reason. However, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he had to give up his most beloved possession for the sake of Allah. And if we can think about our lives and how we can relate this with our lives, do you think that you can give up your most valuable possession for the sake of Allah? Everyone think to yourself, would you be willing to give that up? And it could be one thing or it could be many things. Many times as Muslims, we have a lot of things that we're asked to give up for the sake of Allah. Maybe early in the morning you have to pray Fajr, and at that moment the most dear thing to you is your sleep. Right? Maybe, whatever reason you're tired from the night before, you're so comfortable in your bed, you want to stay in that bed. Right at that moment, nothing is more important to you than staying in your cozy bed, right? However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us at Fajr time every day to give up our sleep. Why? For the sake of Allah. Right? We have to get out of bed and we have to go pray Fajr. Or maybe you have to share something with your brothers and sisters that you didn't want to share. It's so dear to you, but you have to give it up. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to give that to Him. So similarly, we can think of the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam and see that it really relates with our lives all the time. Every single day, we have to give up something for Allah's sake. And he did that. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he did that. He was willing to give up that very child which he got out of so much patience and sacrifice and effort, became so dear to him in his heart. And finally, what happened is, he said, Allah, if you ask me to give it up, I'm going to give it up. Anything you ask me to do, I'm going to do it, no matter how it makes me feel at that moment. So it wasn't easy for him to give up his son and say, here you go. It wasn't easy. It was very difficult for him. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who can see everyone, and Allah can see inside of us, and He has that special X-ray vision that He can see our hearts also. When He saw that Ibrahim alayhi salam was able to give up with his heart, his dearest possession, he gave it up in his heart, then guess what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did? This was a test from Allah. He dismissed him from the test. And he said, you know what? You already passed the test in your heart, so alhamdulillah, you won't have to give up that thing anymore. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put instead of his child, he replaced him with a sheep. Right? And so the significance of this Eid and this Hajj and this entire time of year and this pilgrimage is that we also commemorate, we remember, we reenact the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, as well as his wife Hajj and what they went through, and we remember that sacrifice and that high station of being able to sacrifice for the sake of Allah, and then what do? We remember that and we try to achieve that point ourselves in our journey of life, and our journey of Hajj. So, inshallah, now I would like to go through a little bit about the steps of Hajj. So what we're going to do today, inshallah, and I have my seniors panel here, we have 11 different places that we are going to go through in this station, because in Hajj you have to do all of these things. Everything that we're going to do today, one day, inshallah, all of us, because we're Muslim, we have the intention that we are going to perform Hajj. We will also have to do this in the real Hajj. So the first thing that we're going to do is, inshallah, we're going to do our ihram. So you go to station number 1. Every single station is labeled. So we have a station in the very back, and it has a number 1. Everybody can see. And you're going to choose a miqat. A miqat, there's 5 different places that you can choose from when you go to the Hajj. You can enter from 5 different places. So you choose a place, and you wash your hands and pretend like you're doing your ghusl for ihram. And then you begin. And when you get there, you're going to receive a piece of paper, which is the talbiyah paper. And after you get to the miqat, everybody's going to have a talbiyah paper. Okay, and here in the talbiyah, it says, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. The meaning of this is, here I am, O Allah, here I am, here I am. You have no partner, here I am. Verily, all praise and blessings are yours, and all sovereignty, you have no partner. So once again, the basic message of the talbiyah is tawheed. Once again, that we are submitting to Allah's oneness. We are here fulfilling His command. We are here for His journey. So we tell Allah, here I am. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. And we're saying, you have no partner, here I am. This is a very powerful statement. And you're going to carry this with you, as well as your Ziploc bag that you have labeled. Okay? And you're going to get this from the miqat, and you're going to circumambulate, which is you're going to go around the Kaaba 7 times, saying this loudly. Okay? And every time you go around the Kaaba 1 time, take one of the counters. There's a little counter in each of the envelopes, a colored counter. Each one is labeled with a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So just go, slowly and enjoy the process. You go around. When you go around 1 time, take the number 1, put it in your bag. Go around the 2nd time, take the number 2, put it in your bag. 3rd time, 4th time, until you do 7 times. And once you do that 7 times, inshallah, next you're going to go to Maqam Ibrahim. We know that the Kaaba was built and rebuilt by many of our dear prophets. So one of the purposes of praying at Maqam Ibrahim is that is the spot where the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam stood in order to build the Kaaba, in order to get higher spot to keep building. He stood there, and his footprints are actually there still. Okay, so over there, if you can stand up and show us where Maqam Ibrahim is, where the number 3 is, that's where Maqam Ibrahim is. You're going to go there, and we're supposed to pray 2 rak'ahs, right? So when you go there, you pray your 2 rak'ahs, and you get your footprint. Okay, can you show them a footprint? You take a footprint, you put it in your bag. Okay, next we have Safa and Marwa. And as we know, back from our story of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his wife Hajj, this is so beautiful because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking both men and women to follow what a woman did, a woman of faith, right? Hajj alayhi salam, she submitted to Allah's will, okay? When she was left in the desert with her son, she ran back and forth. And here we have Safa and Marwa. Okay, there's 2 chairs and it has Safa written in Marwa and there's some counters here. And what you're going to do, as you do in the real Hajj, you go back and forth. You start with number 1, you go back and forth and you do dhikr. And you call to Allah, make dua. And you never know. You know, we are all here for such a good purpose. Your dua, inshallah, maybe it will be answered. So you go back and forth 7 times and you're doing the same thing. You're reenacting what Hajj Re-enactment did so many years ago and what millions of Muslims are doing this year and what inshallah we will all do, inshallah. And so once you finish the Safa and the Marwa, the next station is number 5, which is Mina. So Mina is over here. There's a tent over here, okay? And there's some little Qur'ans. And when you go to the real Hajj, Mina is a place where there's lots of tents. And you just do your dhikr, you read Qur'an, you make a lot of istighfar, you make dua to Allah, you do any kind of ibadah that you can, and over here you have this Mina station, there's some Qur'ans, and you emulate the same thing. Okay, number 6 is Arafah. Arafah is the most significant day out of the whole Hajj. Okay? This is a very significant day. It's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes down close to humans here on the earth, answers all the prayers, and it's a beautiful place. When you go there, you will feel this amazing presence, and it's right here on this station where this chair is, okay? Because it's like symbolizing the Mount of Arafah. You go and you do, it says Arafah on the other side of the chair, and there's some Qur'ans here, and what you do is you just make dua. You know, you pray to Allah and you make dua. Okay? Then number 7 is Muzdalifah. It's on the back wall. There's sleeping bags over there. And Muzdalifah is the place where we sleep overnight when we go to Hajj. And then we have number 8, which is throwing pebbles. You see the red tablecloths? So throwing the pebbles. What are we symbolizing when we're throwing the pebbles? When Ibrahim, who can tell me? Yes. Exactly. We're throwing pebbles at Shaitan. And do you know who had to do the same thing? Whenever Ibrahim alayhi salam had to give up his most dearest possession, his child, then the Shaitan came to him to try to stop him, right? As the Shaitan does to all of us. Whenever we are in any situation, for example, praying Fajr in the morning, the Shaitan, he will keep on coming and saying, sleep for 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes. You don't need to wake up, right? And then the Shaitan came to him and he threw the stones at the Shaitan at that time. And we're symbolizing this. And so over here we have some M&Ms that you're going to be throwing. And you say Allahu Akbar. And you throw the M&Ms. Okay? And you do this 7 times. Next you have the slaughter. Okay? So number 9. Over here we have some stuffed animals and some swords. What we do is we are reenacting that same amazing act that Ibrahim alayhi salam did when he was going to slaughter his son. Allah replaced it with a sheep. So here we're going to go to number 9 and say Allahu Akbar and you slaughter. Okay? And then you're very close to being done. So at this point, when you're in the Hajj, you're going to be cutting a bit of your hair because we're all girls here. So you're going to cut a little bit of hair. So over here in 10, we have some black yarn and some scissors. So just cut a little bit of hair, put it in your plastic bag. Okay? And then finally, the last one is number 11, the farewell tawaf, which means you go right back to the Kaaba and do one more round and say, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk, la sharika lak. And once you finish that, there's one more counter over there that says FT, that's farewell tawaf. You put that in your bag, and inshallah, you are going to be finished with those steps. And then, inshallah, once you're finished, just go back to your leader. Always look at your leader of your group to see what to do or if you have questions. I also have seniors who are going to be at every single station and they will direct you, also keep you on track. So inshallah, I hope that everyone has a lot of fun and learning with this, and may Allah reward all of the leaders, all the volunteers, all the girls. Let's try to keep things as calm as possible and organized, and that way inshallah we'll all have our best experience. So, may I have all the seniors stand at your stations before we begin? Okay, so we have number 1. Okay, Rana, you're at number 1 at the miqat. Number 2, Umayma. Number 3, Maqam Ibrahim, Iman is there. Number 4, Safa and Marwa. Umayma is there. Number 5, Mina. Do we have somebody at number 5? Aya? You're at number 5? Number 6, Arafah, is right here in front of me, so I can be here. Number 7, Muzdalifah. There's somebody there? There's Muzdalifah. Number 8, throwing the pebbles. Over there. The Bayal is over there at number 8. Number 9, we have the slaughter over here. 10 is over here, and then the farewell tawaf will again be at the Kaaba. So everybody, please go with your own leader to the in line to the miqat, inshallah, once your leader tells you. So what we can do is, if you can find out from your leader, we're going to try to go from youngest to oldest with who begins, inshallah. Okay?